Well, hello everybody, this is Dear Mama Sal. And it's 11 degrees here in southern BC, which would make it just 51 degrees in northern Washington. It's a drippy sort of day, I think, although right at the moment, yay, no rain. But as you can see, I am wearing my raincoat, which tells you all you need to know. It's going to be raining all over the place today, which is good. The grass loves it, and means you don't have to water the flowers. God does it for you. Hurry up, squirrel. Oh. The squirrel thought it would change its mind halfway across the road. Not a good decision. Luckily, it made the subsequent choice to go in the other direction, but for a moment there I thought I was going to connect it. Such a cute little thing. It's got to learn not to try and cross the road in rush hour. Mind you, you can't help but wonder, how many things did we do that were similar when we were young? And I say similar, but you know, if I think back to some of the things I did when I was young, it's amazing I ever made it to this age. And hopefully to many, many years more. I wonder, I just, you know, to me it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. How we survive these things. Or most of us do. Not everybody does, and I understand that. My heart goes out to those that don't survive it. But when I think of some of the things that I got up to in my teens and my 20s particularly, you go, really? I mean, how did I ever manage to survive that? And I did. And I wonder whether all those experiences make me who I am today. I mean, a lot of those experiences I know created my need to almost withdraw from the world in depression. Because, you know, if you withdraw from the world in depression, then you don't have to deal with the world as much. It's a very useful thing. You withdraw because you don't then have to cope with the world. And I often think about that the trick to my... Yeah, really. Apparently there are rules of the road for most of us, and then there's rules for the road for that person who just waited until the traffic light went red and then decided to hang a left. Scary. Really scary. Alright, I wonder what the heck I was talking about before that person completely messed with my mind. Depression. Yeah, I often think that, for me, although I fought it tooth and nail, or tried to, depression was a way of keeping me out of the flow of things, if you like. And I think it's where I picked up the excuse, I'm sorry, I'm sick, I won't be able to be there, thing. because, you know, it was my ultimate excuse for not doing things, for not going to that party, for not going to that boring concert, for not, you know, for not doing this and for not doing that. I would tell the lie. I would say I was sick. I'm not proud of that. But I think I did. I'm pretty darn sure I did. I know I did. And so it's pretty worrying, quite honestly. But then let's go on to the next part of this discussion, which is, I could dwell on that for the next day and really depress myself. Or I could go, that was then and this is now, and every day I make a new choice. And I think that, to me, is the most exciting part of life. Is that every day we get to make a new choice. And for some of us, every hour we get to make a new choice. And again, maybe every minute we get to make a new choice. I'm thinking of particularly Kerry and Mare, who both decided to quit smoking. I assure you, they're making that decision every hour. In fact, every 20 minutes probably. Every 20 minutes they're having to get control of themselves, because smoking is an out of control thing. When I say out of control thing, you know, you do it without even thinking. It's like breathing. And the triggers, you know, were so strong. And they're strong enough that I still have them today, but I laugh at them today. And I go, yeah, you want me to smoke, right? So I think what's exciting about my life today is who I am. You know, there have been so many people in my life who told me I couldn't do stuff. I remember when I first started to speak. You know, I hadn't trained to be a speaker, nor did I intend to, quite honestly. You know me, it's like, really? Does not sound like fun. And, you know, I remember an agent saying to me, well, you know, you might not want to give up your day job. Really? And I remember saying to that agent, you know, by this time I will be speaking here and there, and by the end of the year I will be in the East and into the States. Now, quite honestly, did I know that to be true? No. But did that excite me to think that that was a possibility? Yep. And was it a possibility? Sure. Not necessarily a great one, but it was a possibility. And I always remember the end of that first year, I had not been to the East, and I had not been to the States. And I remember on December 31st thinking about that. And the next morning I woke up, and that was January the 1st, and I said, okay, by the end of the year I will have been to the East, that would be Eastern Canada, and by next year, I mean by that time, I will also have gone to the States to speak. Was there a likelihood? A small one. But I kept that mantra going in my head the whole time. And guess what? 3 months later, I'd done both. I think I'm right in that. 3 or 6 months later, I had done both. I had been to Toronto to do a speech, and I had also gone into the States to do a speech. And it was like, yeah, I'd give up my day job. And literally, you know, obviously I had given up my day job by then. It was my day job. A lot of people have asked me about that time. You know, what is it like to be a full-time professional speaker? I cannot tell you how stressful it is. I don't know if any of you have ever wanted to do it or have done it, but it's literally an exercise in extremes. Because you wake up every morning when you're at home and you run a full day of running a business, which is your answering mail and putting together stuff for potential clients and so forth. But then it's really up to you how you spend your time, because the next thing you know, you're off on the road, and sometimes I could be away from home for 3 or 4 days at a time. And so it was a very difficult time, very stressful, because you really had so much going on at any time. You know, airplanes that were late, weather, people's programs on a convention that weren't running to time. And you know, sometimes I literally was running between towns or cities in one day. And so you run your convention an hour late or half an hour late. You know, that could seriously affect my timing, but nobody seemed to care about that. Or they'd put you up late and they said, oh, don't worry, you know, I can always remember that, being in the States one time when I was doing a speech, and they ran me late. They put me up very late, and they said, oh, don't worry, you can take the time afterwards. And I said, I'd love to, but I can't. I'm due to be back in Johannesburg, back in Vancouver. To do a speech at 5 this afternoon, so I cannot afford to be late here. If I am, yeah, I will be late for my second gig today. You know, and people don't think about that. And they were sort of, I think, a little upset because they'd waited a year to have me speak for them. Sure, but you told me I would be talking at this time, and I was available to talk at that time. And, you know, I can push the envelope a little bit, but there is a limit to how much I can do that. So, the interesting thing is that I wonder how many of you do that? How many of you consider your time to be that precious? I have, as some of you know, I have a real problem being a time freak. Or used to. I don't think I am quite as bad now as I was. And I used to go insane when I went places where they kept you waiting. I don't know if any of you get really upset with that. And it seems to me the more professional the profession, the more they keep you waiting. Like lawyers, doctors, you know, all those sort of professions. It's like, okay, I studied a long time for the right to keep you waiting for an hour. And I was just like, excuse me? You know, I fitted this appointment into my day, and you just threw my day out by an hour. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had to walk out of those appointments and just say, I'm sorry, but you know, my next appointment is here, and I cannot stay any longer. I really love to, but I can't. People did it to me all the time. Oh, I used to get so upset. Somebody at my office spoke to me about something yesterday, and you know, something was upsetting them at work, and it was cute because it was a case of some people not doing what would make her job easier. And in fact, let's put it this way, they're not doing what they should be doing, and how much it was upsetting her. And it was really quite cute because I sort of said, well, I'd gladly have a word with them for you. And it was like, you know, how often do we just put up with bad behavior because we're scared of conflict? When I say scared of conflict, you know, we don't want to upset people or whatever. And you know, it's funny because I understand there's a lot to be said for that. And there's a lot to be said for just going with the status quo. But you know, there's also a lot to be said for putting down the boundary that says, nice try. Really, very nice try, but it's not going to work. And then there is the third part of that, which is, I wonder if any of you have got any of these situations going on, where it doesn't matter what you do or say, that person is never going to change. And quite honestly, it is an exercise in futility if you think they are. It is an absolute exercise in futility if you think they're even going to care. Because they have deemed themselves to be more important than you, and therefore you can go and take a hike. Yeah, I've made a few of those. And that's okay. So my goal for you today is to have some excitement, I think. Go do something, or go find something that is exciting. Somebody wrote to me and said they really love the way that I get enjoyment out of the smallest things. I genuinely do get enjoyment when I see one of my flowers that I've been waiting for a year. When that flower decides to flower for the first time, I get genuine excitement out of that. As you know, I get genuine amusement out of a lot of things. And that sort of keeps my day interesting to me. I used to find days were really quite boring until I started to see the humor in them. I really find that that's an it is actually exciting to me to find the humor, because I will sit in my office and then realize I've been sitting far too long and it's time to get up and move around and get my circulation going. And it's funny because I will actually go out of my way to find things to do or say that will amuse people, if I can. And it can be as little as a look, because you know I can do the look. And so I would challenge you all to have an exciting day today. I don't know what will make it exciting for you, but you do. So think about what is it you'd like to do, that you've been meaning to do, that would bring you joy, and therefore it would be exciting. What is it you haven't done? What haven't you given yourself permission to do? It doesn't have to cost money. All it needs to do is to be fun. This is Dear Mama Sal saying I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye bye for now.